There is a moment of day when silence becomes heavier than noise. When the lights go out, the body relaxes, but the soul begins to speak. What have you ever felt? That restlessness that you don't know where it comes from. A subtle guilt, a repetitive thinking, a feeling of emptiness. Pope Leo XIV, known also as Saint Leo the Great, he understood deeply. He taught that just before sleeping, the soul enters into a state of spiritual vulnerability. It's no coincidence. It's when we stop pretending, when we are no longer acting for the others, and we began to really listen to each other. Saint Leo said that the night was not just the closing of the day, but a portal between what we were and what we can still be. A sacred space where the unresolved cries out, where the forgotten blessings demand to be remembered, and where the soul desperately seeks peace. Not with words empty, but with sacred gestures, as simple as they are powerful. But how can we transform that moment, so fragile and often so painful, into a moment of grace? How pass from the anxiety nocturnal to the rest of the spirit? Saint Leo the Great had an answer, or better yet said, 3 words, 3 gestures, 3 keys. In this video, we will reveal those 3 sacred words. They are not magic spells nor occult formulas. They are practices, spiritual ones, that if they are done with sincerity, they can cleanse your soul before sleeping. Gratitude, forgiveness, trust. These words are not theory. They have been lived by saints, martyrs, and ordinary people who found in the evening an intimate altar where you can meet again with God. This is not a ritual for a select few, but a universal invitation, a path back to deep rest and inner peace. Join us in this crossing nocturnal, because it's not just about sleeping, but sleeping with the soul at peace. And for that, we must begin by looking within and preparing the heart. Are you ready to open the door? Imagine finishing the day not with complaints, but with a sigh of gratitude, not as a moral duty, but as a profound act of recognition. Saint Leo the Great wasn't talking about giving thanks superficially, saying thank you God out of habit, but rather a deliberate, almost contemplative gratitude, a spiritual memory. An act of going back and seeing with the eyes of the soul where God was there when we least noticed. According to San Leon, the gratitude true is born from the attention. He asked the faithful who, every night, would name 3 specific moments in those who felt the divine presence. It was not enough say, thank you for this day, but thank you for that one word that comforted me. Thank you for having avoided that discussion. Thanks for that bread that I did not lack. The story of Doña Eulalia, an elderly Peruvian woman of over 90 years old, illustrates this practice. Every night before going to sleep, he lit a small candle, and with his hands trembling, thanked God, even for the pain in his knees. Because if it hurts, it's because I'm still the I have, he said. And then he named one by one his blessings of the day, the song of a bird, the visit of his grandson, the memory of her deceased husband. It was her personal liturgy, her way to transform the evening in a sacred act. Modern science confirms what St. Leo already sensed. The gratitude not only elevates the spirit, also calms the mind, regulates emotions, and strengthens the health. But for him, it was more than psychological well-being. It was a way of recognizing God as a constant companion, even in it ordinary. This gesture of gratitude also breaks a pattern dark, the one to sleep with. The mind is burdened with shortcomings, with what was missing, with what went wrong. St. Leon invites us to invest that focus, to close the day with what was light, not with what was shadow. And in doing so, we begin to see that even in the grayer days, always was a divine flash waiting to be recognized. And could you name 3 moments of blessing today? There is a kind of weight that cannot be seen, but it drags itself every night to the pillow. It is not the physical fatigue, nor the concerns of the tomorrow. It's a bit quieter, the constant judgment we make of ourselves same. unconfessed mistakes, badly spoken words, decisions that still hurt. St. Leo the Great taught that before sleeping, the soul needs go through a moment of sincerity, but also of compassion. The first, forgiveness. He said he must be the one self, forgiveness, not about making excuses or minimizing faults, but about recognizing them with humility and then deliver them to the divine mercy. St. Leo spoke of the night as an hour of spiritual surrender, in the one that one must stand naked before God and say, "I have failed, but I don't want to finish the day without ask you sorry." One of the great examples of this principle is Saint Padre Pio. Despite his holiness, he same performed the examination of conscience every night, confessing even the more sins small, but it did not with fear, but with hope. I knew that each confession was a liberation, an opportunity to begin clean daily next. In his writings, he spoke of the soul as a garden. Every night had to be removed the weeds so that I could to flourish. But the forgiveness is not just asking God for it. It is also stopping punishing ourselves internally for what we have already done. It happened. St. Leo said that the soul that does not forgive itself does not sleep. It remains awake, reliving its failures. That is why I insisted in forgiveness as an active gesture, not as an emotion passive, an act of faith, of letting go. Many, they believe they do not deserve sorry. It's too late. They have failed too much. But St. Leo reminds us that the night is a symbol of closure, yes, but also of preparation for a new dawn. Forgiving yourself is telling your soul, yes, you fell, but you deserve to rest. And so, every night can become an act of personal redemption, a truce with oneself, a divine whisper that says, "Have made what you could, now rest, I'll take care of you." Forgive yourself. It's already difficult, but forgiving the other person, that sometimes seems impossible. How do you let go of a wound that still hurts? How do you free someone who didn't ask for it, to whom maybe neither recognizes he damaged that he did? St. Leo the Great, with the wisdom of a shepherd who knew the human soul, did not deny the difficulty, but he insisted, the forgiveness to the other is an act of healing own. It's not about forgetting, he said, but to free the soul from the poison of bitterness. Forgiveness is a decision, not an emotion. It is looking at the wound and say, I don't justify you, but I don't hold you against me anymore. St. Leo compared rancor with a stone hot. The longer the we hold, the more it burns. And that's why the moment before sleep becomes in the most powerful moment to leave her fall. The story of Joaquin, a man who was betrayed by his best friend, illustrates this beginning. For years, every night revived he pain, the words said, the broken trust, until a day decided to pray for him. It wasn't easy. At first his words were cold, forced, but every night insisted, Lord, bless him. Although I can't still love him, you yes. With time your prayer became sincere and his soul lighter, not because he another would change, but because he chose to let go. St. Leo saw in this gesture an imitation direct from Christ. Forgive them, for they do not know what they do, he said Jesus in the cross. Forgiveness is not justifying evil, it is ceasing to be bound to it. Even the saints fought with this. Saint Teresa of Calcutta. He said that many times I had to forgive more than once, same person, by the same wound. But it did every night, like someone clean a wound so that it heals good. Before going to sleep, St. Leo advised checking the heart. To whom still do you hold a grudge against her? What if she answer hurts? Then that's where it should begin the prayer, because forgiving does not change the past, but completely transforms the manner in which we rest today and wake up tomorrow. There are nights in which the heart beats faster for what we don't understand, for what we don't control, for what is to come tomorrow. And without give us account, we take to bed the weight of the world on us shoulders. St. Leo the Great taught that the trust is not naivety, it is spiritual courage. It is looking to the sky, dark, and say, I don't know what is coming, but I know in who I trust. Trust, for Saint Leo, is the last sacred gesture of the day. After giving thanks and forgiveness, the soul needs surrender, not only to the dream, but to God. Let go of the control, like someone placing a fragile object in firmer hands. He used a powerful image, a chest marked with the words, "Hands of God." Everything you couldn't resolve today, everything that worries you, everything you don't understand, save it there. To trust is to say, "Lord, this is beyond me. I surrender it to you." Saint Faustina Kowalska, canonized centuries later, but closely connected with this spirituality. It lived with intensity. Sick, misunderstood, and isolated, she wrote in his diary, "I trust in you, Jesus, even when everything tells me it contrary." His trust was not passive, it was a decision daily, and that's why I slept in peace, even in half of the pain. For San Leon, trust is also recognize that not everything depends on oneself, that there is a providence beyond our plans, that the rest of the body is useless if the soul keeps trying to solve everything in the darkness. And how is it done? This in the practice. Before going to sleep, write or just names in your mind that which worries you most. Then, in a symbolic gesture, imagine that you place it in that sacred chest. Take a deep breath and let it out. Not because disappear, but because you choose not to carry it alone. Trust is maturity. It is surrendering not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because sleep is not an escape, it is a leap of faith. A silent declaration that says, "The world can keep turning as long as I rest, because it is not in my hands, it is in His." After understanding the depth of the gratitude, the power of forgiveness, and the strength of the trust, St. Leo the Great proposes something more, a ritual, not as a burdensome obligation, but as a practice simple and repeatable that, with time, transforms spiritual life. A nocturnal rite of inner renewal. 5 steps, 5 gestures, 5 keys that open the door to the soul's rest. Step 1. Choose a fixed time. Set a schedule every night, even if it is brief. Consistency creates sanctuary. It doesn't matter if it's at 9 or 11. The important thing is that the time is reserved, an invisible altar where only you and God meet. Step 2. Name 3 blessings of the day. Don't generalize. Be specific. Think in that kind gesture, that unexpected smile, that small victory. Say their names. Revive them. By doing so, you are training your soul to see the light even in the darkest days. Step 3. Confess your failures. With humility, He acknowledges your mistakes, not to blame you, but to cleanse you. You can say it quietly or write it down, but say it. Free yourself from what you did not do. Well, the confession nocturnal is like washing the soul before sleeping. Step 4. Forgive the person who hurt you. It doesn't matter if it was something big or small. If you feel resentment, pray for that person. At first, maybe you do with resistance, but do it. And if you can't today, try tomorrow. Constant intention softens the heart. Step 5. Deliver the tomorrow. Take your worries, your plans, your fears, and put them in God's hands. Do the symbolic gesture of handing them over. You can imagine that sacred box that St. Leo spoke of. Place there everything that escapes your control. Control, and then rest. This ritual, when repeated evening after night, becomes in a silent path towards inner peace. Like the water that slowly polishes the stone, these 5 steps soften the hardness of the soul. They do not require perfection, only sincerity. Many saints lived this ritual, each in their own way, but they all agreed in something. The soul needs to be cared for at the end of the day as much as the body, because who sleep in peace wake up with purpose. You don't need candles or a quiet room or faith perfect to start with. You just need a moment of honesty, a real pause, because the spirituality does not begin in the temples, begins in he heart willing. And St. Leo the Great knew. That's why he's called not to greatness, but to perseverance. To start where you are, with what you have, with the disposition that you can offer tonight. Maybe today you can't remember 3 blessings. Maybe the sorry it still costs you, and the confidence is felt distant, but none of that disqualifies you. On the contrary, it is in the imperfection where it begins, the true spiritual path. St. Leo, he said with strength, God does not look how perfect is your prayer, but how sincere is your intention. The saints were not impeccable souls from the beginning. John Paul II, Mother Teresa, Padre Pio, Faustina Kowalska, all had nights of doubt, of struggle, of silence. But what the made saints was not the absence of faults, but the repetition of simple gestures with faith unbreakable, a prayer, an act of surrender, a difficult forgiveness, a silent gratitude. And so, night after night, the soul was being molded. Imagine if you will start tonight, without pretensions, just you and God. Silence, 3 words, gratitude, forgiveness, trust, nothing more, and all that. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait to feel spiritually ready. The soul prepares itself in her path, and the rest you long for will not come from a more comfortable bed, nor from a less hectic day. It will come from a heart that dares to surrender. Beam the test. Today same. Turn off the lights, breathe deeply, and speak with God, in your language, with your words, just the way you are. And if this message touched something in you, share it. Because maybe someone you love is also carrying guilt, forgetting blessings, or trapped in worries. Send it to him this light, and become into an instrument of peace. What do you think about this ritual? Already it. Are you practicing, or would you like to start today? Leave your comment. And if this content inspired you, subscribe and like. Help us keep sharing messages that heal the soul.